Today we're going to be doing a tutorial for how to make a neat book cover, and this is going for the assignment on today. So this is going to be for create your favorite book cover. It's design assignments 1, 3, 2, 4. So our goal is going to be to take a book cover that is neat and create my own or edit it that is really cool. I can start with an original one, do whatever with it. So anyway, we're going to do, since I'm looking at themes of whether or not the internal combustion motor was ever invented, I'm going to look up a very classic novel by Stephen King. That's Christine. So let's look up book cover for that. So Christine, Stephen King. We're going to do an image search. Let's find a good image, a good book cover. All right, this one looks good right here. So this is going to be the book cover that I want to start out with. So let's go ahead and download this. Save image as. Do this as a. I was already working on this a little bit to get the feel of it. So we'll go ahead and call this Christine cover 2. Excuse me. We'll go ahead and get that saved. So now I'm going to go over to, let's go to Canva. We're going to use Canva for this. So we're going to do create a design. We want to use custom dimensions for this. So let's go over, close my email. Sure, no one wants to see that. So we're going to go over to that picture we just downloaded. We're going to go to Christine cover 2. I want to get the info on that because I want to see how big it is. So right now, this image to start with is 353 by 550 pixels. And so we want to do this side by side. So you'll see the original cover and the other cover next to it. So we're going to go ahead and leave a little space in between. So we're going to make our new one, we're going to make it 750 by 550 pixels. So we're going to go here on Canva, use custom dimensions. We're going to do 750 by 550 pixels, and we're going to go ahead and click design. All right, so now we've got Canva is open, all is well. Let's go to the backgrounds. Let's look for a good background. This one right here looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and put that there. We're going to come back to filling that in a moment a little bit. I think I like that one. Let's see. Yeah, this one will work nice. So now we're going to go over to uploads. Now I'd already uploaded this same photo earlier, so we're going to go ahead and use it. I'm going to click that. I'm going to put it in. Scroll up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and snap this up into that top corner. Expand it down a little bit. It looks to me like Canva goes ahead and changes things a little bit. It shrinks it a little bit when you first load it in. So we've got that. Now I actually want to go ahead and copy it again. So copy and paste. Got that. Put that there. Okay, so now we've got these two, but now we've got this off-color background, and that really looks quite ugly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our picture, and we want to, let's open this image in a new tab. Let's see. So I think this should work. So let's go ahead, and so now we've got this image here. So we're going to copy this link. So you should be able to close that now. Now we're going to go over to This is all pretty new stuff to me. So this is degrave.com, the color palette generator, linked to from our Canvas group. So as you can see, I already had worked on this. So let's go ahead and find like some other random link we can use. So let's say we were looking at a pet cemetery, and we wanted to. So we could open Pet Cemetery and get its link on that new tab there. And we would go back over to Color Palette Generator. And we would put in that link and color paletify it. And now it's going to, when we do that, sorry, my cat is investigating a box at the moment, so just apologize for that noise. But so anyway, so as you can see, it takes and picks out the colors that'll make an appealing background for this. So we're going to again go back and get the picture we actually want. We're going to make its color palettes. We're going to open that link in a new tab again. Didn't want to open the link in a new tab. I want to open the image in a new tab. It's very important. Open the image in a new tab. There we go. So we're going to get this link. We're going to go back over to color palette. And color paletify it. So now we've got all these colors. And we don't want to be too dull with anything, so we're going to go ahead and use the vibrant selection. So we're going to look at that and we see that the number for this one is 773311. We can go ahead and copy that. So now we're going to go back over to, that's actually what it's going to look like when it's done. So now we're going to go back over to our image here that we've been working on. We're going to go ahead and select our background. And we're going to change this color. We're going to add a color. We're going to go here. Paste in our color. Now we've got a nice background color. So now we're at a good point where we can start working on making this really cool, which is going to be pretty neat. I think you're going to like it. So now we've got that. So let's go ahead and save this. Save it. Let's go ahead and download it. Download. Now here we go. Got this here. Cool. Don't need it open in preview. So let's go over. Go ahead and move this into the appropriate folder I want it in. We're going to call it go ahead and call it book assignment 2 .png. All right, so now we've got that there. All right. Next step. So we've got our new picture. This is actually what it's going to end up looking like a little farther down. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. We're going to start fresh. So we're going to open book assignment to PNG. Open. So now we've got this lovely picture here. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit. So since we want to go with this theme of internal combustion engines not having been a thing, so here we have a, I believe it's a 68 Fury, which is of course going to have a gasoline engine, but we want to make that, not really what we have here. We want to make it, something more. We want to go for steam, because we assume at this point, maybe people are still using steam. We haven't yet completely converted all cars to being electrically powered yet in this world where there's no internal combustion engine. So one big theme with steam is usually you have a smokestack for the burning fuels to emit their smoke. So what we want to do is, if we've got, this, 68 Plymouth Fury, as you can see, chrome is very important on these cars. So actually what we want to do is we want to go ahead and make stacks on this. It's a big car, it would have had a V8 engine, so we want to do 2 stacks on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to make a little rectangular selection. And since this already has a lovely bit of chrome here, and we're gonna play with it a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and select this piece of chrome here on the bumper. Let's go ahead and get a good shot of it right there. That's a good shot. Alright, so copy that. So now we're gonna go to layer and we're gonna make a new layer via copy. Layer via copy, click. Alright, so now we got this layer 2. So let's select layer 2. So now we've got this little piece here, which is its own little layer. So now we're going to go to layer, let's see, I believe it's transform. So edit, I think it's under here, edit, transform. I want to rotate this. Rotate it. Drag it around, but really we want to rotate this thing. Rotate it 90 degrees. That sounds like a good number. Apply the transformation. Yes. Alright, so now we've got beginnings of our first stack. Now I imagine, with this Fury, probably the stack's going to be off to the side of the hood, because you still want to be able to open the hood easily. That would be important on a car like this. The hoods are very large. So now we've got our stack here. So what do we want to do with this stack? So what we're going to do is, now I've gone through some of the Photoshop tutorials. I highly recommend going through these tutorials. They're very helpful and teach a lot of really neat things. So next we're going to go and we're going to select our paintbrush tool. And we're going to give it a size of 10 pixels, hardness of, so we can start with a hardness of 0, or we'll go and bump it up to 50 for the moment. Bump it up to 50. So, and now we're going to go down, we're going to go to our color palette selection. So now the neat thing with color palette is when you're working with the layers and such, when you set the paintbrush all the way to white, it reveals things. When you set all the way to black, it hides them. So we're going to set all the way to black. Again, we've got our paintbrush tool on, so when we take this, do that, we're going to realize I forgot a step. I'm going to have to fix that. So we're going to undo that. So really, I need to make a mask first. So we're going to create a mask, add a layer mask. This is a very important step. I haven't been working with Photoshop too long, so bear with me. So now we've got our layer 2 mask. Now when we do the paintbrush with the colors, it will do what I actually intended it to do. So we've got our layer 2 selected. And so you can see as I go over it with the black, it hides out little bits. And that's because we're working with the mask and not the actual layer itself. So we're going to take and round this smokestack off. So now it's rounded off there. I'm going to round it off here a little bit because, of course, you wouldn't just have that straight line. So since we've got our hardness is not really tight, it kind of gives it that faded in look, which kind of matches with the picture we're working with. So we've got that. See if I can move this down just a little bit. There we go. Move it down just a little bit. Looks good. Pretty happy with that. Actually, want to go back so you can see there's a little bit of this color right here coming in from the bottom. You can see it's on the side of the smokestack. We want to get rid of that so it doesn't look odd. There we go. Now we've got one nice smokestack going on right there. Alrighty, so done that. So I now want to do something which I haven't done before. So this is going to be very exciting. I want to copy this layer. So we're going to duplicate layer. We're going to call it layer 3. There. Okay, so now we're working with layer 3. Should be able to do this right. All right, cool. So now you can see I can move this little, move this guy around over here. Put him on the other side, lined up, about the same position over there. So the thing I'd like to try and do is see if I can flip this layer. Flip vertical, flip horizontal. All right, cool. So now we've got the shadows are kind of lined up. Everything's lined up nice. So now we've got Christine with smokestacks, which I think is really quite neat. Definitely different from what one might be expecting. So now we've got Stephen King, Christine, and we're going to get to this part down here in a minute. That'll also be some very new and exciting ground for us in our grand travel through Photoshop. So let's try, kind of want to see if I can insert a little bit of smokiness. So the general brushes. Click. Come on, open. Spider brushes. Ooh, I like that one. That looks good. This one also looks good. Let's click that guy. That is huge. We don't want it to be that big. Let's shrink that down. It's a little better. That's even better. Okay. Now select a different color. Let's find out. Back to layer 1. Actually, let's create a new layer. Create a new layer. Layer 4. I think it saved which brush I had. Let's go back into brushes. Smudge tool. Shrinking it down. All right. Now, obviously, that one is not working out too well. So let's go back to a good brush that I know how to work with. So obviously 70 pixels is a little too big. So I'm going to shrink that down. 30 pixels, still too big. Let's go to maybe, let's go to 10 pixels. Or 11. 11's good. I like 11. Let's try that. Set the hardness up just a little bit. Set maybe 10%. Let's give that a shot. I don't want to clone things. I want to draw. So now we're kind of getting in our idea of smoke coming out of these stacks here. This is really quite neat. So we'll go and put in some other colors too. Throw a little bit of a darker one as well. So anyway, so now we're getting in these different colors we wanted. So now we're going to do a slightly different color. Maybe shrink the brush size just a little bit, so it gives us a little more definition. Turn down the hardness a little bit more. Turn down the hardness quite a bit, really. Yeah, it's going to be well worth it. And this just gives us a little more depth with the different colors in our smoke. Just that subtle difference in gray really is very important. So now we've got Christine, which is also the name of the car. So now we've got Christine now running on Steam, and we've got the smokestacks installed. So really, what we might want to do here is really probably somewhere there would be a Steam outlet. But we imagine that in this world, in our world, of internal combustion engines, we have, catalytic converters and EGR valves that, reprocess exhaust gases. So I suppose in Christine's world, there may be, some technology for reprocessing the steam. So that may or may not be extremely important for, this particular thing. Our main emphasis is the smokestacks, because when you think about, steam locomotives, and I'll minimize that. I'll remember that later. When you've got steam locomotives, the main thing you think of is the big smokestack on top. And that's really what we want to try and capture here. So we've got that part done. So really what I'd like to try and do is let's go back to layer 1. And I want to use the smudge fix tool, the spot healing tool, that's what they call it. So I want to try and change the title of the book, actually. We're really creating a new story, so let's give this a shot. I haven't done this in a while. So with the spot healing tool, you can kind of take and fade out little bits of what once was. It's really quite neat. So right now we're just erasing this E. Now one kind of rule for the spot healing tool is you do it in short little bits usually if you're trying to get rid of very fine things. You don't want to do bulk changes on things. Let my cat escape from the box. She's a little trapped right now. So anyway, we're working on getting rid of this E. So far, so good. Let's go down here. I'm actually gonna keep trying to get rid of that. It's a little tricky when we get down in this part because there's some other fine little textures going on there that we don't want to disrupt too much. So you see we're going very tentatively with it. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, real quick. Now we're going to do, let's go ahead and create another layer. Because A, we're going to be working on. So create a new layer, 5. It's the one thing about using Adobe. Layers are your friends because they allow you to easily change things and go back. Let's look at a horizontal type tool and see what texts we have. We've got let's look through our font list. So we're going to try and look for a font that's going to be pretty close to that. This one's getting pretty close. So what's going on here though? You can see Photoshop uses a lot of power. So make sure you've got good stuff for running it. We're going to do our text. I thought I found one I liked. I think we're going to give this one a shot. I just saw it. Future. All right, so we got that. See how big is 12 point? 12 point is pretty small. Big is 24 point. We need to do our color. Make it the same color. Okay. Smooth. All right. Okay. I think that may end up being pretty good. So let's go ahead and make our font a little bit bigger. Let's try 48. Try and get it close to that same spot. Now we've got about the right spacing. Size is about right. See if we can change any of the effects on it real quick though. Just to try and get it as close as we can to what we want it to be. So we've tried strong. Let's try crisp. How's crisp look? Crisp looks all right. Let's try another one. Sharp. Sharp looks all right. Still a little fuzzier than perhaps the original text looks. Let me try it with none. And as you can see, none is terrible. So we will not use none. So let's go for strong. I like strong. I think strong is a pretty close match. You can see all sorts of other things we have here. This is my first time working with text in Adobe. So we're going to stay with condensed medium. So now we've got, let's look at our differences here. So now we've got Stephen King's Christine. We've got Stephen King's Christina. Of course, the Steam running version. So we could go ahead and change out some of this text if we could come up with something catchy to put in here. Because really, this is a pretty catchy line. Sometimes ownership can become possession. I feel like that's pretty witty. I don't really want to change that just because I really think Stephen King had a hit on the head with that one. What I do want to investigate doing is maybe seeing if I can clean up this edge here. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So let's go back to layer 1. Let's go back to our spot healing brush. Go ahead and change our size of it. Let's change the hardness. Let's make the hardness a little harder. Turn the size up. Maybe do 30 pixels. Let's see how it turns out. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Do that. Ah, beautiful. All right, so I'm just going to go along, right on the edge. very careful with it. We'll manage to keep it, keeping that same color as the rest of it has along there. Because this will look a little nicer. Oh, I think I'll do that. Right down here. So now our title will look more, more right. Better. So that obviously looks much better. We can do the same thing along the edge down here. And I don't need the box to be this big. So let's go ahead and shrink that back down to maybe 15 pixels or so. Go ahead and bump the hardness up just so I can get a little closer to things. There we go. I'll do a few steps there. Fudged it up a little bit. Seems to work better if you just kind of, plot along, smoothly, gently, doing it individual bits at a time. Kind of helps to make sure you're getting all the colors in it. Turn this back down a little bit. And it turns out that having the hardness actually a little bit lower actually ended up working better for this. Just having the hardness up higher was managing to catch more of the whites in it. So now we've done that. So now we want to do the same thing along this other edge. It's going to be a little more difficult and a little more delicate. This, so well, really, we're just going to focus on the new image because that's the one we're really worried about. We'll leave the original one original. Authenticity, we'll call it. Let's go ahead and try and heal this a little bit if we can. Looks like it's going to be rather difficult to do. Quick checkup. It appears Adobe has calmed down a bit. We're doing some particularly intense stuff there. Tip for Adobe that we'll share in a little bit. Spot Healer is just very uninterested in healing that part right there. I couldn't tell you why. So out of curiosity, why didn't do it there? That's very interesting. Could not tell you why. Well, I haven't quite gotten that edge to clean up yet. Good success with the other edges, with this edge being a little more difficult. see, not being very friendly to my advances. So we're going to go ahead and go with paintbrush. Let's pick a new color. I'm going to use this color. Click OK. See how big is our pixel size. That's not too bad. Low hardness. Let's give that a shot. See what we can do here. Oh yeah, it's going to look much better. We're going to fill that in with the paintbrush. Yeah. Conundrum, I believe, is coming from the fact that the white line is fairly sharp. So that's from where at some point the image was scanned in. This title was scanned into a computer. So it, of course, is a little fuzzy around the edges. Let's maybe go and again, let's pick another color. Let's use this color, this edge color right here. So, yeah, it's pretty consistent. I'll go ahead and pick that. Our pixel size. Let's go ahead and change our size just a little bit smaller, 6 pixels. That sounds like it should be good. Low hardness again. It's going to look much better. I'm just going to very carefully not fudge that edge up. It's going to be mildly difficult. In the tutorials for Adobe, it says, carefully outline the flower. I learned that I had to very carefully outline the flower when it said I had to carefully outline the flower. Turn the hardness back up some. Make sure I'm not bleeding into my edge piece, getting too close to it. Fill that in a little more. And that little bit of white there really is pretty untraceable because, as you can see, there are various little shades in here. So when we get close enough to it, with the hardness set how it is, it ends up doing a nice effect. I'm going to shrink down our size just a little bit more. Let's go for 3 pixels. I'm going to get real detailed here just because you can see the size. This little lined edge here is a little different. We're going to fill that part in a little bit. Get rid of that inconsistency. It's our book title. It's our book cover. We'll make it our own. Get rid of colors as we see fit. We're just filling in along this with the paintbrush. It's actually really easy to do with the trackpad. Draw your fingers straight down it. It's really quite good. So now that looks much better in comparison to that when we have it against our nice brown border we have here. So now let's zoom out again. So now we have Stephen King's Christine versus Stephen King's, there's the old mouse, there's the mouse, versus Stephen King's Christina. So now we've changed our book cover from internal combustion Christine to steam-powered Christina. And I think we've fulfilled the title of the goal of the assignment. Find your favorite book you would like to create a new cover for or edit the original one. Be creative. So now we've used 2 technologies here. We've used Canva to get our original setup done. We've also, we actually used 3 technologies because we also used the color palette on Degrave.com to get the color for our background between the 2 books. So we've used the color palette there and Canva. And then we also used Photoshop to go ahead and finish editing the image and get in all the bits and pieces and changes we wanted. So now we are done with this assignment. On to making the story behind the story and getting everything posted up. You should be able to look forward to that soon. Real quick though, I wanted to give some tips for Photoshop. Tip 1. Do as many of these tutorials as you can, and it's okay if you have to do them again. That happens. I've done 2 or 3 of them 3 or 4 times. And if I wasn't making this tutorial video right now, I'd have been hitting him again, trying to pick up, some of the little tips and tricks that I lose between here and there. I haven't been using Photoshop that long, so growing pains. The other tip I have for you, especially if you're a Mac user and you're using your laptop all the time, I learned about something called Scratch Disk for Adobe Photoshop. And that is where it uses the hard drive for additional space when it's working on things. And you don't want it to use your internal hard drive because that's bad. So you can go into Preferences and go down to Scratch Disks, and you can use an external hard drive. I've got an old hard drive from one of my older Macs. So I've disabled using this Mac's hard drive internal, and I've activated this old Macintosh HD, which is an external hard drive that I have plugged in running right now, so that Adobe is not using my internal space for Scratch Disk, because that will use up a lot of your disk space and put a lot of unneeded wear and tear on your hard drive, especially if it's a solid state, which no one wants additional wear and tear on a solid state, especially when it's a Mac and it's built into it. You can't change. So anyway, you'll want to do that if you've got a spare hard drive laying around. If you don't, I highly recommend getting one so you can prolong the life of your Mac. So anyway, we've now got a thing. Let's go ahead and save it. File, save as, book assignment 2 Photoshop data to summary. We're going to save, maximize compatibility. Who wouldn't want to do that? All right, and now we have our finished product. It's done, it's saved, it's ready to go. All right, thanks for watching. And this was for, again, this was for the Create Your Favorite Book cover assignment, design assignments 1, 3, 2, 4. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks, and bye-bye.